America started with a written promise, and the rest of its history is the country being forced to prove whether it meant it or not. That is the thread I am following through all 5 parts of this prompt. The following documents make the promise. War, religion, technology, and the civil rights movement are where that promise gets tested, broken, and explained. Part 1. The Founding Documents. The Declaration states the principle all men are created equal. The Constitution builds that machinery of government. The Bill of Rights limits what the machinery is allowed to do to you. These are not museum pieces. First Amendment cases still decide what students, journalists, and churches can say and do right now. But here's the part that drives everything after this slide. That sentence was written by men who owned slaves. That contradiction became the lever every later movement in American history pulled on. Part 2. War. The Revolutionary War turned 13 colonies into a nation. In December 1776, Washington's army was collapsing. Enlistments were days from expiring, and he crossed the Delaware on Christmas night to hit the heathen garrison at Trenton. That gamble kept the promise alive long enough to matter. The Civil War cost roughly 6,200,000 lives to settle whether all men included 4 million enslaved people. And notice this, the Methodist and Baptist denominations split in 1844 and 1845 before the states did. The world wars ended American isolation, and the same industrial compatibility that built cars built tanks. Every one of those wars forced the country to decide who the promise actually covered, and every one expanded that answer. Part 3. Religion. Puritan Massachusetts fused church and government, and Salem in 1692 showed what that costs. 18 women hanged, 1 man pressed to death, before the public turned on the court and shut it down. Then the Great Awakening taught ordinary colonists that religious authority could be questioned, and that habit walked straight into 1776. The Second Great Awakening fed abolition, temperance, and the earliest women's right work. Then, Darwin and industrialism forced a real reckoning between faith and science. Protestantism split. The social gospel turned outward toward poverty and labor conditions. Fundamentalism turned inward to defend doctrine, and the Scorpes trials in 1925 pushed fundamentalism out of the mainstream for a generation. It came back. Billy Graham filled stadiums starting in 1949, and Under God went into the pledge in 1954, while the Everson decision in 1947 tightened church-state separation. Revival pushes, authority pushes back, and freedom ends up wider than it started. Part 4. Technology. Ford's assembly line in 1913 cut car build time from 12 hours to under 2, and that efficiency built both the middle class and the consumer economy. Electrification put power in 63% of American homes by 1927, which is what made appliances, radio, and mass advertising possible in the first place. Then, the same industrial compatibility converted to war and production between 1941 and 1945, ending the Depression and outproducing the Axis. And nuclear weapons in 1945 ended one war and defined the next 50 years of national security strategy. Technology decided how fast the economy grew and how much force the country could project. Part 5. Civil Rights. Primary source 2. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech from 1963. King called the the founding documents a promissory note that America had defaulted on for black citizens. That framing is exactly the thread of this presentation. Look at the milestones. Seneca Falls in 1848 literally rewrote the Declaration to include women. The 19th Amendment in 1920 gave women the vote. Brown versus Board in 1954 ended separate but equal in schools. The Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act followed in 1964 and 65. Every one of those movements argued the same case. The promise was already written down. Honor it. Both read the same Bible. Primary source 3. Lincoln's second inaugural from 1865. Lincoln said both sides read the same Bible and prayed the same God, and that the prayers of both could not be answered. I chose this one because Lincoln sits exactly where all 5 threads of this prompt meet. A war fought over the founding promise, argued on both sides in religious language, won largely by industrial compatibility, and settled in favor of civil rights. So here is the whole arc. The promise gets written in 1776. War tests who it covers. Religion both challenges it and gets challenged by it. Technology scales what the country can do with it, and the civil rights movement claim it. The founding documents never described the country America actually was. They described the country it would spend the next 2.5 centuries arguing about becoming. That argument is not finished, and those documents are still what both sides cite. Thank you.